Alright, everyone. Here are the Teamfight Tactics patch notes 11.23. So, this is the first actual patch that we've had on this set. What set are we on? Set 6. Yeah, set 6. We're going with set 6. Um, gonna be honest, I still have not played a lot of set 6. I'm still trying to wrap my head around a lot of things. But I still watch a lot of the YouTubers out there and the Twitch streamers. So, I have a decent enough idea of, like, what I think is busted as hell and what needed nerfs. Um, Overarchingly, I think they actually probably did a decent job. But let's just start going through. First of all, double up. If you've been playing the PBE, they have their 2v2 game type setup. Um, it looks good, actually. I think they did a good job on it. I think the one thing I was most surprised about was this part here. So when one player when you run out of health, so like one player takes a loss, one player takes a win, and that would normally kill you. Instead of going all the way down to 0, you have one health, so you both have to just win out the rest of the way. And I think that's actually really kind of interesting. I really do actually think that's good. Any loss eliminates both of you. And the ability to pass champions and components and stuff. There's a lot of interesting things that's good. There's a lot more depth and strategy in here than I thought there was. But at the same time, I also think that there's a good bit of things that are fairly unbalanced in it. Um, I think like 3 starring is way too easy. 3 starring is like very, especially 4 cost, very easy. Um, I think that's something that I'm going to personally keep an eye out in this game type. So you're going to see like some pretty crazy compositions in this, just from how easy it is to 3-star 4 costs. System changes. So they changed up the combinations of augments you can get. So here's a bunch of new ones. Carousel Ui. Yeah, inspecting champions on the board. So yeah, you couldn't inspect champions on the board while in carousel mode. It is a little awkward, and like I'm still not sure you can actually inspect champions on the carousel, which is pretty important. Like trying to figure out what particular items actually the champion has, because I know I don't memorize every single emblem. All right, so now on to the changes. So first we have a whole bunch of augment changes. So for the most part, a lot of the changes for the individual augments have been changing their tiers rather than rebalancing them. So we're gonna go ahead and get that out of the way, and I'm not gonna like talk about every single one of these because, to be honest, looking at the names of these, I don't honestly remember all of them. But there are a few of them that I can point out. Titanic Force, yeah, Titanic Force is actually kind of crazy. Um, so like they're nerfing the AD bonus on it. That one came up a lot. Woodland Charm, that was another one that came up a lot. That was incredibly strong. Um, oh, the forge. So these are the Orin items. There were a bunch of them that were really bad, apparently. So they buffed up a whole bunch of them. Yeah, I'm not gonna go through a lot of these because I don't think it's really worth. Most of these were actually buffs, if I'm correct. Oh yeah, runic the Arcane Shield. Yeah, that got a nerf. It gave it actual time to it. Yeah, most of these were actually just buffs to these that were not very strong. Anyway, going through the traits, Academy. Academy was probably the best composition in the game, which isn't really that surprising to me. Um, so it's just getting across the board nerfed. Yeah, this isn't really that surprising. Bodyguard. So Bodyguard is kind of as itself a somewhat uninteresting trait, and oftentimes the bodyguard would just get itself killed before it could activate its ability because of the taunt. So now they're adding a shield to the bodyguards when they execute their taunt at the beginning of combat, so that way they don't like instantly get destroyed by like frontline carries. Colossus 2. Colossus 2 is always bad. I don't think there's ever a situation where anyone was running Colossus 2. Colossus in general is like a very awkward trait. Like, period. Enforcers will no longer detain units that are under crowd control effect. This was actually a big one for me because I found I've seen this happen a few times and I was just like, that's just annoying. Why would I put like, because now you're just like wasting a QSS to get these crowd control immunities. Because Enforcer is like very easy to play. And like getting the augment for Enforcers is actually just kind of ridiculous because you don't have to play shitty units to get these free Enforcers. So now the change, when selecting units to detain Enforcers, will skip over units that are immune to crowd control. Simple enough. Also, Zephyr takes priority over Enforcer, so you'll Zephyr something, and then the Enforcers will decide who to hit. Because you could Zephyr and Enforcer the same target, and that was kind of dumb. Nobody liked that. Imperial 5 is shit. I don't think this changes that. Innovator. So Innovator is like one of the strongest openers in the game, I think. I think that's like kind of a general consensus, was that Innovator in the beginning of the game was kind of crazy, but at the end of the game was like the dragon like didn't do much besides have giant stats. I think that was kind of the feeling of it. So yeah, this is a pretty significant rework to the dragon itself in terms of buffs and nerfs, so it's kind of hard to tell whether or not this is like a straight up buff to the dragon. But the big thing was that early game Innovator was kind of cracked. And five Innovator with an augment was completely cracked. So they're doing some pretty significant rebalances here. I still think it'll probably be worth it in the early game. I just don't know if 5 is going to be worth it anymore. And 6 was already pretty rare. Wait a second. Is this a 357? I think it's a 357. Honestly, can't remember. I don't remember whether this is a 246 or a 357. Mercenary. Yeah, Mercenary was ridiculous and completely busted. Mercenary got nerfed entirely across the board. Mercenary 5 was a free win. I've seen enough games to know that Mercenary 5 is straight up a free win. You literally cannot lose if you get a good payout on Mercenary 5. It's that strong. You get so much economy. Particularly combined with the fact that a lot of the Mercenary champions were really, really good. So you should just read this as an across-the-board nerf to all of Mercenary. Mutant, Adrenal Clan's renamed to Adrenaline. That's sad. Why would they do that? That's dumb. I hate this. Cybernetics probably the worst one of the mutant types. Mostly because in order for Cybernetic to be useful, all of the Cybernetic champions must be useful. And when it comes to Mutant, that's not entirely true. It's not like Cybernetic in set 3, where all of the Cybernetic champions were actually really good. In this case, all of the Mutant champions are not necessarily very good. Nerf Ferocious Appetite. I forget who this was that was particularly obnoxious with this. Metamorphosis, yeah, that was... Metamorphosis in particular was probably the strongest one. New change, so snipers. So this is kind of a fix to the sniper emblem in that the sniper emblem is kind of not good. So the sniper emblem will automatically add +1 range to a champion, so it kind of functions as a miniature version of rapid fire cannon, while at the same time providing the damage buff off sniper and adding +1 to your sniper. Sniper emblem is probably one of the worst emblems to get because 4 sniper is worthless. You have to run 4 ranged backline champions, and you get like you can't have any room for mid-range utility champion. It's really awkward. So yeah, snipers inherently have +1 range. At the same time, sniper units have -1 base range to compensate for the change. Because this would lead to problems with Kog'Maw if they didn't do that. Tier 3 champions. Here are a bunch of mercenary changes. Yeah, Gangplank was nuts. Miss Fortune was nuts, so nerfs to both of them. Samira, so the interesting thing was Samira's carry became a thing, something I don't think anyone could have actually called. So Samira's getting nerfed across the board. This is a lot of like general changes. In fact, this one's actually a buff. But this is a lot of like very light changes that I don't think like even balance out the fact that they buffed it. So I suspect Samira carry will still be a thing. But these mercenary changes make Gangplank Miss Fortune not free, because it was free. Tier 4 champions, Urgot was probably the best carry in the game. I don't think there was a better carry in the game, and it was very common for a lobby to end with just 2 Urgot players battling it out in the end. So they're cutting down his AD, which is probably where it really needed. Tier 5 champions, buff the Galio. Doesn't really change the fact that he's Colossus, and doesn't really change the fact that the entrance damage doesn't really matter. Yeah, really, they should like as a 5 cost that takes up 2 slots. Galio needs to be actually insane. All right, smaller changes. The tyrant bonus on all for one. Yeah, these augment changes I can't really talk too much about because a lot of them I can't really like say is overly interesting. Built different is no longer a third choice augment. Yeah, yeah. Binary airdrop. Calculated loss can no longer be a third choice augment. Yeah, it was a pretty bad third choice augment. You often didn't want to like end game with it. Yeah, these are all like good things to change because they're not really good in the late game. So just kind of getting them feels bad, man. Windfall. This apparently no one noticed. I was really surprised that nobody noticed this. That the augment wasn't giving the correct amount of gold. Probably because you just say pile of gold on the floor. Just grab it all up, and nobody noticed that it was actually incorrect. Trait changes. Bruiser. So they nerf Bruiser 2. Bruiser. That's Bruiser 4. Bruiser 6. Yeah. I don't think I have much to say here. Clockwork. Yeah, Clockwork nerf 4. Clockwork's crazy. Yeah, nerf Clockwork 4 and nerf Clockwork 6. Clockwork, if any time you can put in Clockwork 4 for free, you should do it. It's so good. Scrap will no longer get poorly synergized items like Zephyr'd on Ziggs, or Blitzcrank can no longer roll Deathblade. Yeah, this is actually nice. Randomization is good unless you low roll it. And when you low roll randomization, it feels bad, which is kind of like the problem with things like Scrap and Thieves Gloves. Is when you high roll it, it's just like a lol free win, but when you low roll it, it's just like, why did I even make this item? And like being able to have the scale like be actually limited in some way makes it inherently better for most players. All right, champion changes. Ezreal, probably the best early game carry, so not surprised to see him nerfed. Interestingly, they buffed the 3-star variant. I don't think that does anything though. Garen, yeah, this is a protector nerf. The protector build was kind of strongish. I'm just gonna go with kind of strongish. Okay. Ziggs AD buff. So there were certain circumstances where off carousel Ziggs would lose like 1-1. That's not good. It's not good at all. Like if I recall correctly, it specifically has to be a cloak or a what was the other item? Was it glove? Nah, I don't think it was glove. Cloak was one of the items. I don't think belt was it because belt you had too much health. This is gonna kill me that I don't remember this. Yeah, I know cloak was one of the items where if you put him in a bad spot, like his bomb would miss, his attack wouldn't do enough to kill the first two minions, and he would die. And like this was sad. So they gave him extra 5 AD, so that can't happen anymore. Twist of Fate, starting mana. Yeah, Twist of Fate is nuts. I'm surprised they didn't like nerf his total mana. It was smart to nerf this because he could come in with Morello plus a tier and instant ult and just burn everything alive, and it was annoying. Katarina damage, yeah, cross board nerf on that. Yeah, Katarina's actually pretty good like early game carry. Um, I don't recall ever having a two cost assassin that I felt like could carry items the way Katarina can. Katarina's a very very good early game champion. Kog'Maw damage buff. I'm surprised. I don't think he needed it. Swain. Yeah, Swain needed some nerfs a bit. He was one of the better champions in the early game, and he often could just like hold on. You could just hold him to the late game, and it was fine. No one cared. Trundle strong. Not much else to say. Helping those content creators create their Chograph highlight VODs. Alrighty then. So they buffed Cho and they buffed Shaco. They buffed his attack damage scaling. I wonder how that changes the math on Deathblade. It's probably not because him being an assassin makes IE just always better. But interesting change to make Deathblade probably significantly better on him. Tier 4 champions, Mundo. Mundo's best tank in the game. The biggest issue was his healing was way too high. And as you can see to all of these nerfs they gave to his healing here. Yeah, that needed to be toned down. Fiora. Yeah. So when Fiora starts up her ult, like it feels like it takes forever, and she can often just die before ulting. Yone attack speed nerf. Yone does a lot of damage. Jace. So this is a Jace melee. His armor and magic resist. Yeah, he was getting a lot there. I always thought this was a lot, but I didn't really think it really mattered too much because you were using him as a frontline champion, and I think in general his backline version was cracked. But if you needed him to like solo frontline, he was still very good. Just wasn't as completely busted as backline version. This was like very comp dependent on whether or not you played him front or back. Like, if you needed the front line, you'd play him front, and he'd be very good. But it was usually better to play him back line if you already had front line. Jinx attacks, but yeah, when Jinx comes down off a rocket, she blows shit up. Kench, it was nice that we all got to have fun with the Kench while it lasted. No, this doesn't change. Well, actually, it kind of does. This is a pretty big nerf to his 2-star damage. I'll have to keep an eye on this, because I think this might have been overkill here. Yumi health, yeah, Yumi fits into, like, every comp. IS damage. IS in particular has been kind of obnoxious this set. It's a very, very strong item. There's a lot of lower cost, like, low value ults in this particular set, particularly among frontline champions, that would get like blown up by a spark. The number of champions with like 100 plus mana, just there aren't that many. There's a lot of them with like lower amounts of mana, so constantly getting zapped by this has been a little problematic. Hyper roll, Yordles rebalance for hyper roll. Yeah, we're gonna see a bunch of these, I think, throughout. I was surprised that this was basically all we got. TFT, the new TFT marketplace. So mobiles already has the new currency. This I suspect has more to do. I'm not going to talk about it. There's other places we can talk about the lawsuits that have come with the Android's, the Apple Store and Android's marketplace. Bug fixes. Yeah, I don't think there's too much to talk here. Oh, you no longer see the target dummies in the final battle reports. Weird things regarding the Yordles. I've seen a couple weird things happen in in Yodel comps. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. It's hard for me to say how the meta is going to change. It's because I've mostly been watching, not so much playing this particular set. But like the big thing here is Mercenary. Mercenary kind of got crushed. 5 Mercenary was often a free win if you could get in the early game. Academy gets a little bit of a hit. I think that probably hurts a lot of comps as well. But overall, otherwise, I don't expect many changes. Just kind of a leveling of some things that are more powerful than others. Like Urgot will be a little bit down, but like he's supposed to be one of the better comps in this set, I think. Um, but like the nerfs are what are I think important to read into. So the mercenary nerf, the innovator nerfs and rebalances, along with the academy nerfs. Those will probably impact the game the most, rather than a lot of the buffs that they've dropped. All right, I think that's about it. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video, and I'll see you all around. Peace.